Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to 4-Digit World Cup 2025. We are continuing onward through our round of 16 weekend with another match here in the losers bracket. It is 28th seeded Argentina, 21st seeded Turkey facing off in an elimination match. One of these teams will be headed home once this one is over. The other one, of course, advances onward to the next round of the losers bracket. There are two teams that did not have a great time in the first round of the tournament in the winners bracket in the round of 32. Faced off against some difficult opposition. Both won 1 point against South Korea and Australia, respectively, but against each other might have a little bit more of a competitive affair, which is all we are hoping for here this afternoon. So we're going to be getting underway here in just a moment. I am this one guy. Joining me for this match is Mr. Suicune. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Aaron. I'm hoping for at least, a close match between these two teams. Like you mentioned, both these teams having a rough time last week. But now that, there's a little bit less of a seed discrepancy in this matchup, maybe we get a little bit more spice here. We do see some spiciness in the early rolls as, Team Turkey is going to win that roll by, one singular point, which is one of the closest rolls I've seen in a while. And we will be seeing a Turkey will be getting the first ban, opting for second pick here, as Argentina opts for the second ban in this pool. This is like, what, a 6.8 star pool, roughly speaking, so a decent step up from last week. So I'm interested to, see how these teams are able to, perform against each other. And there's some interesting picks in this pool that, kind of hope, like, they're prepared well enough for, my eyes, when I was just looking through the pool real quick, no mod 5, it's banned out, the speed test is out of the way. The Hidden 2 is another one of those maps I'm particularly interested in, because it's not really like a stack reading map by any means, but when you're putting a lot of flowing emphasis on an AR8 map, things get really difficult really quick for the non-reading players. But yeah, Turkey banning out in the no mod 5 speed. Hard Rock 1 aim map going to be banned out here by Team Argentina.
And we'll see if those lead anywhere, right? There is a decent amount of tapping in this pool for Argentina to pick from if they feel that Turkey banning no mod 5 is indicative of their skill set not maybe including tapping. You've got no mod 2, you've got the entire DT pool available. And the other way around, if Argentina is banning out aim, perhaps Turkey can opt into something like a no mod 1 or a free mod 1 in this pool. And with no further ado, Argentina is indeed going to immediately pick into the DT1. So you get a speed map banned against you, and you just say, okay, that means we're going to pick speed. This DT1 is the highest BPM map in the pool. It's 278, and it's bursty speed. So if you feel that you're a good tapping team, this is a really good option to start off the match with potentially a comfortable pick for yourselves. I like seeing that as, no mod 5 banned against, pick DT1. Okay, we're confident, we're crystallized in our strategy.
Yeah, they're very quick with it, and like you said, Aaron, more picks left in the pool. If this goes well for Argentina, the solid pick strategy to come out. There's still no mod 2. A little bit slower than, no mod 5, not nearly as tapping intensive per se, but still definitely on the faster end when you think of, a typical no mod 2 type map. And then you also have, DT2, still available, 240 BPM with, tapping finger control, basically, in this pool still open. So, Argentina have options. So I'm interested to see, how this first pick goes for them. Argentina are looking very ready for this map. I mean, they got their 4 players in almost immediately, and both these teams are ready to go into this first map.
That's polar opposite of the last match that I was commentating, where one of the teams took basically the full timer for every single pick, as well as readying up quite a few times. So maybe indicative that these teams are indeed super well prepared for this match. We're going to get underway here. Map number 1, DT1, Love Your Enemies. It's Surite? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Maya Angelou Muro, Zeta, and Smash K against Dragon, Saga, Mikatsu, Lieri, and Levi. Some familiar names to those who watched these teams in the Osu World Cup last year. There's some players in common. And it's going to be the early break there from Dragon Saga to start things off for Turkey. Decently long map, just shy of 3 minutes, and really doesn't let up in that bursty tapping requirement. So we'll see how the accuracy feels. We'll see how the combo goes, as that is a break from 2 members of Argentina. Just like that, 2 of the FCs are gone early on.
Traded on the other side from 2 members from Turkey, though, on that square pattern. Lieri and Mikatsu also going down. So, 2 FCs to basically 1.5. In favor of Argentina right now. They're going to net themselves, a solid 50,000 score lead through this first third of the map. We'll have to see how much longer, these combos are able to hold. And as we get further along into the map, the recovery combos are going to start to matter a lot. We do see, Dragon Saga recovering after, their very early break. A little bit down in the accuracy, but, it still has that, sizable combo for Turkey. And, if any of those FCs from Argentina go down and, the rest of the combos in the lobby hold, that score lead will go back in favor of Turkey very quickly.
Yeah, the gap is just not that big between the teams, barely sitting around 100k. But Maya Angelou Muro Smash K still holding a double FC is pretty big, so we'll see how they do. With a third of the map to go, 115k. Score lead continuing to go a little bit more in Argentina's favor. Pretty decent backing combos, but it's 4 sizable combos on the side of Turkey as well. They're ready to pounce, as you said, on anything Argentina might give them. Any faltering from Argentina, and there it is, Maya Angelou Muro with the big break. Smash K follows it up, and that's both the FCs gone from Argentina, just like that. But Mikatsu and Levi throw it back the other way, and the combo advantage, just as quickly as it came, it went back the other way. And that gap is still coming down, but we're going to be seeing it stabilizing a little bit right around 80k. There goes Dragon Saga, and with Zeta still holding as... Ooh, boy, it breaks back and forth. Zeta and Lieri are matching, though, so it shouldn't be going anywhere in the last seconds.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there for Turkey to bring it back, but some of the longer bursts in the back half, back into this map, claiming Mikatsu and Levi at the end. Zeta and Lieri do hold on to the end, but ultimately, Team Argentina just better consistency overall. Those 2 big combos from Maya Angelou Muro and Smash K, holding on to those FCs for as long as they did, are going to be some of the big contributing factors for Argentina taking their first point. It wasn't that convincing at the end of the day, but a point is going to be a point nonetheless. And Aaron, the pick strategy I think might still be there for Argentina.
Yeah, I would be sticking with the tapping maps if I were them. Like you said, wasn't a super one-sided type of map. But it did go their way, so, if they feel at all comfortable with the remaining tapping picks in the pool, no reason to go away from them with further picks. Very curious, though, to see how Turkey wants to open this match up. Argentina, as mentioned, they banned out the Hard Rock 1, which is pretty much just raw high BPM aim. So Turkey feels like consistency aim is something they're good with. They've got some options there, but it is going to be the Nomad 4. So we are going to go Slider Tech as the first pick for Team Turkey here. This is, to my eye, quite a challenging map. I feel that this is pretty difficult. The slider sections are very, very challenging. You see plenty of breaks in them, and the discrepancy between teams that are comfortable in this type of map and teams that aren't becomes pretty apparent, I feel, in those moments in the map.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, a typical like Nuge like style map. It is a collab between Nuge and Weeawweek from what I remember, and having played this map before in tourneys in the past, it definitely plays like a typical like Nuge map. Lots of high SP sliders, and just a lot of like aim in general. It's not super high SP to the point where it becomes unplayable, but like you mentioned, Aaron, like if you're not comfortable on this, particular like skill set, like it is very obvious, who's able to hold on to, slider ends, or, who's just able to, hit slider heads in general, because, one of the things about maps like this is you feel, it looks like, you hit the slider head properly, and then you break anyways, because you're off by like a few pixels, because you ended up, clicking on, the slide, like a few pixels off the slider head and on the slider body instead.
We'll see how it plays out for everyone, if they can find that stability with those slider aim moments or not. Between Colombia and the United Kingdom, we saw Carlos Flo putting up a pretty crazy score on this map. We'll see if anybody in this lobby can replicate that in attempting to lead their team to victory. GLHF's coming out, so we'll get into things here shortly. Penguo, Smash K, Zeta, and Amuro taking on Spray, Shinkiro, Levi, and Orkai. Turkey first pick, so you gotta think this is something that they're quite confident in winning, but we have seen we've seen that go both ways. We've seen early breakpoints, and we've seen matches where both teams win all their early picks, so let's find out which we'll be getting here. This one, 3 minutes, 12 seconds, so not short, not long, right in the middle of the comfy length, I feel, for a Nomad 4, with plenty of challenge to come in those slider aim sections that Speaking was discussing.
Yeah, I think particular players, me personally, I think I want to look out for. Shinkiro, I feel like, does really well on this particular skill set. Same with Orkai. But on the other side, Penguo's been around in the scene for a long time, and like my recollection of Penguo has always been like they're always like pretty solid on maps like this. So hoping to see what these players can do on this map, as we do see 2 early breaks on that first accelerating stream from Shinkiro and Levi. No other drops from anybody else so far, so 4 full combos still for the side of Team Argentina versus the 2 for Turkey.
That's going to be the first break for Argentina from Zeta, heading into the slider aim section here at the 1/3 mark of the map. But a double FC still intact as Penguo the next to fall, so the lead went out to 70k. Not going to go any farther, though. Combo advantage will go to Turkey for the moment, even with that break from Levi. Shinkiro still holding the recovery combo, and the 2 FCs intact on either side. There goes Orkai, though. Levi, another break. And it is now Spray and Shinkiro coming out of that slider aim section, with Smash K and Amuro holding on to the double FC for Argentina. Got a 90,000 score lead as we hit the halfway mark of the map. Let's see if they can continue to hold on to that as we get into the next build-up here. Will we see on the break? It's Amuro to miss on nothing before the accelerating stream, before the wiggle stream, before the sliders. Penguo falls after. Smash K goes. Levi, Orkai, Zeta. It is a lot of breaks. So we have Smash K still intact, Shinkiro still alive for Turkey, and no other combo in the lobby, with Argentina up 80k.
Yeah, the score lead has just kind of been stable, at like, 70 to 80,000. Smash K still holding on to the FC is pretty big for Argentina, because, there's no matching full combo, on the side of Team Turkey. Shinkiro has a very nice reverse choke, actually does have better accuracy than Smash K, but with everything else kind of being equalized, Argentina is slowly going to, bring this even further into their favor the longer Smash K holds on to this full combo on this, but does find a slider break right at the end of this last key. I don't know if there's enough time left in this map for Shinkiro to potentially bring this back. The score line is going down rapidly, but Levi finds a drop. And I think that supporting combo might have been necessary, especially with that chain miss on that last stream there. And I think there's just not enough time for Shinkiro to bring this back. It's a 15,000. And Aaron, I just don't think there's enough time.
Oh my god, is it gonna know? 2.5k into the very end. And Argentina just barely manages to hold on by the skin of their teeth for the break point. That's about as close a point as you're ever going to see. Poor Shinkiro, man, did so much work into that ending, but unfortunately, Levi, that big miss on the last stream, I think cost Turkey a chance at the point. Argentina just kept their noses out in front on the pick. Oh, man. You hate to see it for Turkey. If you're an Argentina supporter, you are exultant after that one because, man, they just stole one away. Felt for all the world like Turkey might be able to bring it back at the end after Argentina had held a lead the whole way through, but was not meant to be. Argentina breakpoint 2-0 lead. Will have their own pick to try to consolidate, and what do you know, it's going to be DT2 as their second pick, so they're just going down the list of tapping maps, it does appear.
Yeah, I mean, respectable strategy, all things considered. This is what we mentioned, at the start of, the pick ban phase, and, after what happened on DT1, I think this is a completely, expected pick. Never resort. A map by Garden here. AR 10.2, 243 BPM, so a little bit more intense on that, higher approach rate reading, and the finger control and speed you need for this is very intense. Like, I say speed as if, this was a lower BPM than DT1, but the amount of, stamina I think overall you need for a map like this compared to that DT1 is really going to, show who's more comfortable on, the tapping overall.
Yeah, it's a different kind of tapping requirement, I think, for this than the DT1 for sure, but man, what doesn't this have? It has doubles, it has triples, it has quads, it has quints. I think it has 6-note bursts too. Like this just has so many different increments of notes that really will challenge the tapping of both teams. That finger control requirement is going to be pretty high, and like you said, it switches up what kind of tapping it's going to ask the players to bring forward, but if anything is to be taken away from the first pick from Argentina, it does feel that they may be by at least a small margin the superior tapping team in this matchup. We'll see though. That one ended up being relatively close, as we've seen two pretty close maps really so far. So maybe Turkey looking to, hopefully for them, possibly steal the breakpoint back. I mean, it's not as though this is a super one-sided tapping matchup. This is a matchup between two teams that are at relatively similar levels, unless Argentina just shows us that something above and beyond what we saw in DT1.
Yeah. And another thing kind of to point on, like, the DT1, because, Argentina, again, did ban out, that Hard Rock one. And so, maybe feeling a little bit less comfortable on, just the aim in general, but, felt confident enough to pick that DT1 just because of, how fast it is. This map, not being nearly as aim intensive, probably, feeling like they're probably more comfortable on just a raw tapping test. But Smash K finding a little bit of an early drop, also down in the accuracy department, gives Turkey a little bit of an early lead. And as we get into, this first quarter, Amuro breaks that full combo as well. So does My Angel Amuro as well. And it's only traded by Levi right now on the side of Team Turkey. So, they're up ahead. 3 full combos to 1. Make that 2 as Shinkaro finds a drop. But so far, Team Turkey, I do believe, still in the driver's seat for this one. Although I think supporting combos might bring this back in favor of Argentina relatively soon.
Yeah, Argentina also a little bit of an accuracy advantage, I think. It's minimal. A lot of players suffering a bit in terms of act, but Dragon Saga on the FC down all the way at 93% and Shinkiro at 95%, not helping their cause as much as they might like. But it is still that double FC, and it's the tiniest of advantages for Turkey because of it. If Dragon Saga breaks, they might be in dire straits because his accuracy is so low, down now at 92%. But the combo's starting to build up everywhere. There goes Dragon Saga, and that was what I was worried about, because look at what the score just did. Instant 120k lead for Argentina. Penguo and Shinkiro traded breaks as well, but you just evaporate. If you have accuracy that low, your score is just toast if you break. And that is exactly, unfortunately for Turkey, what happened there. It is still Levi and Leary holding on to a big combo and an FC respectively, but with Smash K holding the FC and Amuro and My Angel Amuro both on the big recovery combos, plus the superior accuracy for that entire team, Argentina just took a humongous lead thanks to a little bit of assistance from Turkey alongside their continued combos.
Dude, how is Leary holding on still? Look at that cursor, Aaron! What is that? That's like Miles' level of shake.
There he goes.
He finally goes down, but... nice
man.
try from Leary, but unfortunately for them, Argentina just... Again, better on the tapping, and like you mentioned, Aaron, the moment Dragon Saga broke, goodbye to any score that they had, and it's going to be an early 3-0 lead for Argentina. They're going to be able to consolidate that break point and put themselves in a very good situation in this losers bracket matchup.
Yeah, that 3-0 consolidated break point looks worse than it actually is. I feel in a best of 9, because you're only 2 points away from winning, even though you only have 1 break. The mental aspect of that and of having that momentum and having that lead could be really positive for them. So we'll look for Turkey to try to fight back, and curious to see what their second pick ends up being. The Nomad 4 almost but not quite working out, right? I mean, that was as close as it gets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not really anything else in the pool quite like it. There is the free mod 3 if they want to go into more tech. But other than that, it's going to be something different. I still feel that, maybe one of those couple of aim consistency picks in the pool could be an option. But otherwise, we're going to be seeing something very different. Both reading maps still up, notably. The Hidden 2 and the free mod 2 are both available. So whichever team feels comfortable with reading, that could be a couple of options for them as well. I genuinely don't know what to expect this to be here, frankly.
Yeah, there's just so many different skill sets, but like when it comes to just tech, like you mentioned, it is pretty much only the free mod 3. They're going to end up picking the no mod 3 custom map instead, which, respect. This is pretty much just a straightforward snap alt map. From what I remember, there's a little bit of interesting patterning in this that kind of forces you to have to read just a little bit to make sure, you're not over tapping. But otherwise, very straightforward, 140 BPM, snap alt.
Yeah, this is one of the more standard maps in the pool, I feel, for its slot. Like the Nomad 1, Nomad 3, Nomad 4, actually pretty much this whole Nomad pool is very, very traditional stuff. And so if you are just a tournament player in general, right, you will have seen in the modern era especially a lot of maps kind of along the lines of this one, because it feels that a lot of custom Nomad 3s offer some very similar styles. That snap alt has really become the hallmark of that particular map archetype in recent years. So any of these players who have been doing this a lot will be probably fairly comfortable with this. Feels to me, Suicune, feels to me like a very contested map, because these teams both have players who are super, super tournament experienced.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on this. And I guess it kind of goes in a similar vein with, Nomad 4, the type of map styles, we've seen in a lot of like Nomad 4s recently as well, very similar to, what we saw, Turkey pick earlier in this match. So, with the amount of experience that I think both of these teams have in terms of like recent community tournaments, like these are players that shouldn't be like caught unawares by the style of map. Whether or not they've practiced like this actual map in particular and like are aware of, some of like the different spacings for, different beat snap divisors, maybe begs a little bit of a different question, because, if you're just sight reading this and you're not like particularly good at sight reading maps, well, some of these patterns, that you think are just, consecutive, 1/4 tappings, or snap divisors, end up being, there's like a 1/2 break, either at like the start or the end of, a pattern. So, we'll see who's able to navigate through some of these patterns early on, but otherwise, pretty bog standard, snap alt no mod 3, as we do see a very early break coming out from Smash K for the side of Team Argentina.
Smashk, I think, did kind of break on one of those stop-start patterns that you were discussing. The little 1/4 into 1/2 may have caught him out there. Penguo the next to miss. So it's Turkey with the early lead this time around again. 4FC's still alive against just 2. There goes Orke. I think he got slow slidered on one of those short slow sliders, actually. You hate to see it, but next goes Shoe Right. Somebody can correct my pronunciation. I have no idea. Shinkiro to fall. Smashk to chain miss an entire pattern. So it is Amuro with the only FC left for Argentina. Spray and Levi with the FC is still intact for Turkey. And that lead will not go their way as Levi the next to break. It's Spray and Amuro now just matching on the FCs. I think a tiny combo lead actually to Argentina, but it's minimal at most. And
yeah,
okay. Penguo and Smashk broke. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's minimal, but, like, look at the accuracy discrepancy, you know, throughout. Like, Spray and Amuro, you know, to their credits. Oh, well, goodbye, Spray, misreading a star pattern. So it's only Amuro with the FC, but, you know, the accuracy deficit that Argentina has on this right now. Oh, no, Amuro. Well, before that happened, you know, the accuracy deficit that Argentina has right now is giving Turkey actually, like, a very comfortable, you know, score lead right now. Shurai is down at 94, constantly chain missing a lot of these patterns, and, you know, everybody else on, you know, Turkey is pretty much matching, you know, their opposite player on, or better, on the side of Argentina.
I am kind of just surprised to see the number of misses that we're seeing as it happens again. That was 6 misses in quick succession there from the teams. It is Penguo and Shinkiro, the only players in the lobby with any combo. It feels to me like a lot of players are having more trouble than you would expect with the consistency elements of this map. Some of those flowy patterns can catch people out, like there with Orke and Shurite. I don't know. Somebody please tell me how to pronounce this man's name. But Shinkiro and Penguo are the ones to watch. The big combos coming to the 2/3 mark, but nearly a 200k lead for Turkey. They've put in a fair amount of work and built up a decent lead for themselves here. And it's going to be looking very favored their way into the last quarter of the map as Penguo, the largest combo in Argentina, does go down.
Yeah, and I think this one has to be done and dusted now. Shinkiro with the reverse stroke, pretty much still 99.4% accuracy as well. Clearly very comfortable on this compared to, you know, everybody else in this lobby. I mean, okay, misreads that star pattern, but dude, these star patterns are so annoying to hit. It feels like I was looking at this in the editor and, like, I was like, yo, these star patterns look horrid. And, you know, Shinkiro finally drops a few more misses, brings the accuracy down to in line with roughly, you know, everybody else, you know, around this, you know, accuracy range, but by far, you know, the best performing score on this. Levi actually with a very solid recovery, you know, at the end, as well, to bolster, you know, Turkey's score lead even more. And I think this has probably by far been the most convincing map that's been played so far in this match.
That was a very, very solid win there for Turkey. Needed that one to avoid going down the 4-0. And yeah, they just were ahead basically the entire map. There was very, you know, once you got to a certain point, there was not really a time where it felt like Argentina could really look to bring that back. And I mean, the scores kind of reflected only one player going over 450k. Meanwhile, you have a 500 and a 560k for Turkey plus a 442k. So yeah, just the more comfortable team on that particular pick. Shows why they wanted to opt into it for themselves. You do, though, have Argentina's pick coming up next. There are still a couple of tapping maps in the pool. They do still have the DT3. They still have the Nomad 2 as well. So there are a couple of options. Considering the wins on DT1 and DT2, feels like wouldn't be much of a surprise if it's one of those.
I could definitely see the Nomad 2 come out. DT3 I'm less convinced on because it's, for all intents and purposes, I feel like just a high BPM single tap map for a lot of these players. It ends up kind of playing more like a DT alt pick, but they're going to actually pick the hidden one? I'm honestly not too sure about this one, Aaron. 160 BPM, funky flow alt rhythm or flow alt control map by Silver. Maybe it's because of the fact that this is more of a flow map compared to Nomad 3 that Argentina feel like they can pick this, but I'm not convinced about this one.
Yeah, in much the same way I wasn't convinced about Turkey picking the Nomad 4, I'm kind of not convinced about Argentina picking the Hidden 1 here. This also feels like, kind of in general, a very high variance map, because some of the patterns are just unpredictable as to whether you're going to hit them in a given run or not, right? Those expanding wiggle streams, for instance, just so easy to miss one run, hit the next, miss the one after that. Like, you just don't know. So the variability in results on this map feel pretty high. I don't know that I love it as a pick at this particular stage of the match. I think I really would have rather seen the Nomad 2 from Argentina here. But obviously we haven't seen a Hidden yet. Don't really know how strong these teams might feel on the Hiddens in general. So, I'll temper my expectations as carefully as possible coming into this. But I really feel like there's a world where this could just go either way. It almost feels like a coin flip.
Yeah. Hidden flow aim is, one of those skill sets that's, so difficult to be consistent on. Like, there's a reason, like, hidden flow aim tends to be, in terms of, like, star rating wise, some of the lowest in a particular map pool, and it's just because not many people are actually, like, that good at it, all things considered. There's, like, very few people, like, in this range that I think come to my mind in terms of, like, hidden flow aim, because it can vary so heavily on the player. You mentioned, I think, before, Aaron, like, it's like, you either hit it or you don't. It's kind of like in practice, like, it's one of those map types where it's like, you may have like multiple FCs in solo, and then you play a match and you quite literally bottom score by like 400k, and you're just like, guys, what happened?
Now, hope for everybody to high roll this time, because I think it's just more fun that way. You'd obviously rather see players performing well on a given map than low rolling that run. So let's see how it goes. Couple early breaks from Turkey on Orkai and on Levi. The player whose name I can't pronounce on Argentina that nobody seems to be willing to tell me how to pronounce is their first break as well, but it's 3 FCs against 2. Recovery combo starting to build up for Orkai, but there goes Shinkiro. So down to just 1 FC for Turkey. Lead will start to move ever so hesitantly in the favor of Argentina as that player breaks once more, but still the triple FC alive.
Triple FC alive. Few people break on the wiggles. It's Spray and RO16. That wiggle pattern, like, yes, you can wiggle it, but it is also just possible to just, move your cursor up in a straight line. But nevertheless, that pattern takes out a few players. Orkai drops the recovery combo. Panko does drop, I believe it was an FC, so it's Smash K with the full combo versus pretty much no combos on the side of Turkey as Levi misses on a back and forth triple.
Yeah, best combo they have going into the last third here is going to be on Spray, and he's sub 300. Smash K still on that FC, 200k plus advantage for Argentina. Feeling pretty reasonable for them. Not a whole lot of time left. It's going to be a question of whether Smash K can hit the next wiggle, and he does, and that is going to settle the map because they pretty much cannot lose it now with the combo as it is on the board. It will be a pretty comfy win here for Argentina, in fact. 300k heading into the last couple patterns at the ending. Some breaks to come, really doesn't matter. You've got Spray and Orkai on a little bit of combo, but Smash K is there, RO16 is there, and Argentina is there. It's going to be their point. It is going to be a 4-1 lead. Match points to come for Argentina, Suicune. The pick worked out. As much as we may have thought it was a bit of a coin flip, they looked more than comfortable on it. 414k, the final margin of victory.
I mean, that's just a very impressive full combo there from Smash K as well. 99.14%. Clearly very comfortable on a map like this. And, not something many people can say. You kind of look through the rest of the lobby. The only one, the only two, other people, who seemed, remotely comfortable on this, Spray at 645k, RO16 574, and then everybody else kind of, hovering mid 400s and, you know, high 300.
Now we see pick to Turkey, down 4-1, did win their most recent pick, but they've got their work cut out for them to bring this match back. Going to need to win this pick, get a breakpoint on Argentina's pick, win their next pick after that, and then win a tiebreaker. It's a tough task. It's a mountain to climb, but it starts off with this pick right now. They won on the No Mod 3. They looked pretty good, but not a lot in the pool to really line up with that, right? You've got no real other alt unless you count Free Mod 2, and I don't really count Free Mod 2, quite frankly. So this is going to be a sort of new pick here. I don't know where they can necessarily think of going with this.
I wonder if you just kind of have to throw caution to the wind and, you know, just pick the No Mod 1, but they're going to go with the Free Mod 3. I think this probably, you know, the map that's, you know, most similar to, you know, No Mod 3, No Mod 4 in that kind of vein. Those were the two maps that, you know, Turkey have looked, you know, the best on, very close to winning that No Mod 4 and winning that their No Mod 3 pick by, you know, a sizable margin. However, you're also throwing Free Mod on top of this. The Free Mod rules for this tournament require at least 3 players on each team to take a mod, at least one person on, you know, Hidden or Easy, another on Hard Rock or Hidden Hard Rock, and then the third player taking some combination of, you know, Hidden, Easy, or Hard Rock. I don't think anybody's really going to be picking Easy on this, so we're going to see some combinations of, you know, Hidden and Hard Rock on this, but, you know, the mods throw an extra bit of, throw a little bit of an extra curveball in this, because, you know, we haven't really seen, you know, any of the modded picks at all. Like, we've been in the no mod and DT pools almost exclusively, aside from, you know, that hidden one that we just saw, you know, Argentina pick.
Well, we're gonna find out how it goes. The GLHFs are coming out. To me, this feels like just a very challenging map, right? Like, this is super, super difficult. It's a very unique style of mapping, and with the mods on top, it's gonna be all the more challenging. Let's see what we get here. It's gonna be Hard Rock on Penguo and Amuro, Hidden on Razakon, Nomad on Smash K, who just coming off that FC of Hidden 1, might be feeling pretty good about himself. Hidden on Orkai, Hard Rocks on Mikatsu, and Shinkiro with Nomad on Spray. Turkey, match points down. The comeback has to start now on a very challenging pick, and it's going to be a break right out of the gate there from Orkai, right at the start before he even got settled in, so plenty of combo in front of him to recover, as Penguo will trade it out, and no advantage really gained in the early goings of that first section.
Yeah, but it's looking rough here for Team Turkey. I say that, but those drops from Mikatsu and Shinkiro end up being traded back by Amuro, Razakon, and Smash K as well, so it's only Spray left with the full combo on the no mod, and you can see this map is a wild, you know, it's a YF map. Things are about to get crazy, you know, with the high slider velocity, you know, some of these cut patterns as well, and it's claiming the lives of just about everybody except Spray, who's still holding on to the full combo halfway through this map, and this is looking like a very solid lead here for Turkey. They're already up about 300,000 points over halfway through this map. Spray still holding on to the FC. Good supporting combos from Shinkiro, Orkai, and Mikatsu as Smash K finds a drop on the no mod, and you have to think this pick is just over this late into the map.
Yeah, this one is done for. It is a very good pick from Turkey. And man, just think about where we'd be in this match if they hadn't tragically lost that No Mod 4 earlier, by the way. Considering that's the only break point in the match, we would be about to be tied 3-3 right now, heading into last picks. Instead, yeah, Turkey's going to win this by 450k, but Argentina still has 2 more match points. So a little bit of a game of what could have been potentially here as Turkey just runs roughshod over their opponents on that pick. But Argentina now has a match point on their own pick instead of this being tied. So if they win this, it all comes back to that Nomad 4. And considering how strong Turkey looked on this tech pick, it's almost surprising in hindsight that Argentina was able to steal the break point that they were. They have now match point in their own hands, their own pick. So Turkey's got to defend against this one. After winning the tech free mod 3, Argentina is now going to pick that Nomad 2 as we expected from them. It feels like this was always due to come up, and indeed here it is. It's going to be Yako. It's 210 BPM, just 1 minute and 52 seconds. And Suiko, I get kind of C-Mob vibes from this one. Do you get C-Mob vibes from this one?
I get so many C-Mob vibes from this one. I believe this was an original song for Taiko World Cup last year?
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah, so it definitely has that song vibe to it, and yeah, I mean, 210 BPM tapping, it's not really like a flow aim test. I mean, there's definitely some, interesting stream patterns, but these are like not your like Knowledge King, not even like Camo Winter style streams. Like, these are very like funky flow aim stream patterns that you have to also hit. On top of the fact that, this is 210 BPM. It's on the faster side of things for, a Nomad 2. We'll have to see how well these players do on this.
I feel like, based on what we saw out of Argentina on their first couple of picks, I would anticipate them doing pretty well on this, but we'll see what Turkey might have in store for us. It's got to be something good if they want to keep this match going into their own last pick, but already losing 2 tapping maps. The faithful will have to have their prayer beads out for this one, because it's asking a lot of this Turkish team to try to win this, to at least give themselves a chance at forcing tiebreaker on that pick of their own. We've got that guy with that name. We've got Zeta. We've got Mayangel Mura. We've got Smash K, Mikatsu, and Dragon Saga awaiting 2 more members for Turkey to round out that roster.
It's looking like it's going to be Leary and Spray coming in for them. Something else that, I haven't really considered for this particular pick, because it's not it's not a common thing we see in Nomad 2s. It's CS 2.1. These are some very large circles. And we did just see Turkey come off a win on, a relatively large circle map. Does that necessarily mean anything? Who knows?
Yeah, it's. I feel like you see Nomad 5s sometimes with big circles, but you don't often see Nomad 2s with big circles. That is true. Maybe if you're ever so slightly off on the aim component, it could help out a little bit. You got a little more room for error, maybe. But it's going to ask a question of you as far as the tapping goes with this flowy tapping style of map that you're going to see. A couple longer streams as well in the later portions of the pick. And so it will be a question for the players to answer in front of us. No breaks in the intro. A little bit of an backdrop from Shurite or Surite, I don't know. And Dragon Saga. And Dragon Saga is going to be one to break. And then falls on the space stream. However, Zeta and Smash K will be the next 2 to go down. So Turkey in the advantage now. 3 FCs against... Wow, Mayangel Mura goes down as well. 3 FCs still for Turkey. They're going to have a big lead here. This is going to be scary as we reach near the halfway mark.
Yeah, halfway breaks are brutal. Leary goes down right after the break, so, that is an FC dropped for Turkey, but, the 2 FCs still holding on for Team Turkey. Mikatsu and Spray looking ever so comfortable on this. 99.25, 99.7% on the accuracies versus just the 1 FC from Shurite there. Smash K goes down again, and Shurite finds an under aim, so that FC is gone for Team Argentina. Spray might trade it, but with Mikatsu still holding on, and with how short this map is, it's pretty much almost over. It's a 300,000 score lead for Team Turkey. And I think it's insurmountable at this point, unless Mikatsu just absolutely implodes at the ending here. And Aaron, this is the breakpoint that Turkey, I think, needs in this match to potentially force the tiebreaker on their last pick here.
This is a remarkable turnaround, man, from Team Turkey. They were down the 4-1. Now they're going to win 2 points in a row to get back to the 4-3 with a breakpoint included on a tapping map after being beaten on 2 tapping maps previously. The script is in, I guess, for Turkey now. Their own pick to come. Final pick of the match to try to force a TB. What a performance, man, Mikatsu. Really, really impressive stuff there. And the 700k plus from Spray as well. Just quite well done at the clutch moment from Team Turkey here. And the question now is, what do you last pick? There's still a couple of free mods available. I believe still some hard rock available maybe as well. I think there's some Nomad. Like, there's options. There we are. We're going to have Nomad 1 available still. We have Hidden 2, Hard Rock 2 still available. DT3, and then Fremod 1 and Fremod 2. So there's plenty of different choices here, right? Like, there's a lot of skill sets still represented in this pool for them to choose from.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, there's practically nothing left in terms of, kind of like, quote, alt and tech style maps. And there's really, like, no tapping left in this pool either. So it either comes down to, raw aim in Nomad 1, really funky, reading flow reading in, Hidden. You have a kind of like YF style map, in Hard Rock 2. And then you have, I guess, DT alt in DT3? I hesitate to even call DT3 like a DT alt map. At least from like when I was looking at it. You have a Val map in Fremod 1. And then, you have the Aeronal, 2009 style, anti-mod in Fremod 2. But they are going to choose DT3 Team Turkey as the final pick of this match. This is a pick that's either going to knock them out of the tournament or force the tiebreaker in this matchup here.
This is a bold pick. I don't know that I expected this one out of all the maps that were remaining, but as you're saying, like, none of the skill sets are ones that really jumped off the page as potentially being super Turkey favored. So you gotta just pick the lesser of the evils. And it, for them, is here gonna be this DT3. I have not yet seen this map played, personally. This will be a first for me. Pretty long as far as DTs go. 3 minutes, 19 seconds after double time applied. So a little consistency factor gonna roll into things here. And really, like, as we see players just all leaving the lobby, unfortunately, I just want to see it played, man. I want to see if we get a TB here, or if Argentina can maybe close it out. Their third chance now to finish this match off, but Turkey maybe with a little bit of momentum now.
Yeah. Getting that breakpoint on the Nomad 2 has to feel really good for Turkey, and it has to feel really bad for Argentina. Momentum can be, such a contributing factor, in some of these World Cup style matches, or even just matches in general. You drop the ball and all of a sudden, it feels like you've hit a massive, like, mind block, and it's like, darn, I should have won already, I've had so many opportunities. Whereas, if you're the one with the momentum, it's like, let's keep it going. Let's get this win. We just keep winning map after map. And, sometimes it takes you to the victory, and sometimes, it brings you into scenarios like this where, you have the chance to claw back a pretty significant score deficit in a match. I'm interested to see, how this map plays out, because it's not something, we've really seen as... I'm hoping we have a fourth player from Turkey in the lobby for this.
I'm not sure what's going on here.
I'm hoping he's just. I'm hoping they're just in the wrong slot.
They're in slot 9. I'm pretty sure they're just in slot 9.
Oh.
Is what I'm hearing. I'm not positive. Oh my. All right. Well, this sucks. So there's the right number of players and everything, and it'll add up properly in the MP link, but we're not going to have any idea because we don't know what that person's scoring. So if Turkey doesn't win this outright with 3, we'll have to just check the MP link.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, you can't move players mid-map or anything, so we're just going to be stuck with it. So this is kind of unfortunate because if Turkey doesn't just straight up win this with what they have on the screen, it's going to be a little anticlimactic because we're going to just have to go look at the MP link to see who actually won the map. So, bit unfortunate there, but we'll see what happens. Starting out, couple early breaks there from Argentina, Smash K and Shoot Right. This is bothering me so much that nobody seems to know how this guy's name is pronounced. Smash K with another break, Spray with a trade. Mikatsu and Shinkiro holding on. Penguo with another break for Argentina. So down to Amuro on the only FC left on that side.
Yeah, Shurai drops that supporting combo as well. So combo advantage pretty much in favor of Turkey, even, without us being able to see the fourth player. I'm looking at the MP link right now, and I believe the last person in the lobby is Made Ketty. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see them at all, as they haven't been in for any of the other maps in, I believe, is the case. So unfortunate scenario there, but Turkey still holding on to the double FC halfway through, and Amuro slider breaks right in the middle. If that's a rapid trigger diff, I feel really bad because what little chance Argentina seems to have had in this map, I think, has just been completely evaporated. Shinkiro finds a break on the slider head on that reverse slider, but with Mikatsu still holding on to the FC, and, the unknown score from Made Ketty, which, you'd have to assume at this point is over 6,000, I think this gives Turkey, a very sizable lead coming into, the last quarter of this map.
Yeah, they actually could, not anymore with Mikatsu breaking. They had an opportunity to win this 3v4 just with what we had on the screen. As it stands, they're up, I would say hesitantly, by a minimum of 300k, right? So this is looking pretty handily in favor of Turkey here as we get towards the ending. Yeah, Argentina's up by 70k on the screen, but that one remaining player is going to have at least a couple 100,000 points, so it looks like we might be getting the tiebreaker here, unless something really crazy happens here at the end of the map, which I don't think there's anywhere near adequate time for that. Very, very solid stuff from Turkey, and Argentina just kind of struggled a little bit, right? That score on Shurite is, or Surite, whatever, is just not super great, unfortunately, all the way down at 296k, and indeed, Made Ketty only dropped a 320k, so it's by no means an amazing score, but it's plenty good enough to tie the match up and to force the tiebreaker. From 4-1 down, Turkey 3 points in a row, and we get TV. It is Shadowmaker time.
Oh, Shadowmaker. The first thing I think of when I think of Shadowmaker, Aaron? Araxi.
Araxi.
Where's
Araxi when you need him?
Literally. Yeah, a very varied skill set map Shadowmaker is. Lots of awkward aim, like it's got varying BPM as well. I think, the overlay, shows 126. I think there are parts of this that, go up to as high as 160 something. So I'm interested to see, how these players are able to adapt, throughout this map. It is over 7 minutes long. It's one of the longest tiebreakers that you typically see pulled in a tournament setting. Very few tournaments pull maps this length or greater. So you have that consistency challenge and then some with how long this map is.
Well, Gonna be a big question to ask of everyone involved in this lobby. Turkey, storyline-wise, would be pretty remarkable if they can have that consistency that they need, and they can keep this going for a 4th map in a row to potentially complete a crazy comeback. Almost reverse sweep. For Argentina, you gotta lock in here. The mental is gonna be in a tough spot, I think, right? After you lost 3 points in a row, all match points in your own team's favor. It's a tale that we've seen time and time before in different tournaments, right? A team making that comeback and then falling just short, or a team coming all the way back from the brink. I'm very interested in which it is going to be here. Will we get any mods? Do we get any mods? Surely nobody runs a mod on this, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, I mean, unless, you know, there are some, like, gentlemen's agreements, I don't think we're going to see, like, any mod mismatches. But another thing to consider, Aaron, you know, Argentina were up, you know, as the lower seed, you know. For them, this could be, you know, if they win this could be a pretty sizable upset, you know, against Turkey, you know, who is, you know, technically the higher seeded team in this matchup. And Turkey, you know, pride on the line, you know, you don't want to be going out 0-2, losing to, you know, a lower seeded team. But it looks like we're going to be getting... It looks like we're going to be getting some timeouts, so we're going to be stalling the start of this tiebreaker just a little bit longer here as Turkey calls for a timeout real quick.
Guys, I don't have enough to talk about. I'm sorry. You're not allowed timeouts because the commentators don't have adequate information to continue yapping.
But I mean, you can kind of hear in the song, you know, just the song in itself, you know, you can hear, like, my player brain, and, you know, I've played this map before, so, like, I know, but, like, if you've never played this map, you've never seen this map, you can kind of hear, you know, the different kind of map styles, you know, you get in this, like, 1/3 aim, you know, lots of these, like, you know, like, faster burst sections. These aren't, like, full-on, you know, like, death streams, but you can hear just the song build up into these more intense sections and then stylistically change into, you know, such a slowdown right here. I'm excited to see how well these players are able to adapt. I'm just hoping they don't get both timeouts, though. That would be a travesty.
Yeah, 5-minute break between the last map and the tiebreaker with the double timeout. Please, dear Lord. I almost feel like, okay, so you know how in the NFL, right, they'll call like a timeout before a kicker is about to try a game-winning field goal or whatever to try to ice him?
Yeah.
Like, Turkey is literally icing themselves right now. They just won 3 maps in a row to force tiebreaker, and then they took a timeout before the TB.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally icing themselves. Like, you don't do that. If you have the momentum, you just go. I feel you just go. I don't know. In my opinion, like, it's best to just keep on keeping on. If you are the team with the momentum, don't give it away. But it looks like we are going to be ready to get going here, finally. We have Zeta, Smash K, Penguo, Amuro. We have Orkai, Levi, Spray, and Shinkiro. Orkai saying HR versus HR, so let's see if we actually do have a Hard Rock on both sides as we load in. Will there be Hard Rock? Oh my god, there actually are. It's actually Amuro versus Shinkiro on the Hard Rocks. Everybody else, unsurprisingly, running Nomad. On a lengthy tiebreaker, it is 7 minutes. It is Argentina. It is Turkey. We have a spot in losers round 2 on the line. Winner goes home. Loser goes home. Winner takes that spot. Words are failing me as we enter the TB. It is anybody's game, man.
It is anybody's game. And Hard Rock on this map is diabolical. I'm so surprised we're actually seeing, you know, the Hard Rock 1v1. And it's Amuro versus Shinkiro as well. Amuro is pretty darn good at, you know, Hard Rock in general. So, and you can already see, you know, very, looking quite comfortable on this. Shinkiro looking a little bit less comfortable, on the hard rock so far. But, still early days in this map, we're only just now getting started into this. Early break, very slight score lead for Argentina as we get into this little bit of snap alt section.
Yeah, it's just going to be dead even for some amount of time. Yet to see any breaks. Let's just build up as much combo as we can to make this as nerve-wracking as possible. It's going to be a Muro, the first to fall. That looks like maybe a slider break there. Hard rock slider miss aim, perhaps? Is it a misplay? Who knows? Shinkiro on the 93 act, holding the Hard Rock FC, but that act not doing him any favors. We'll see how that plays out over the course of the map. Obviously, a lot of time in front of us with that Hard Rock, with that act, potentially maybe able to come back, but it's a break on the wiggle. And so both Hard Rock players have fallen. The other 6 still holding the FCs.
But you can hear the song slowly start to build up in speed, build up in intensity. The first of the fast bursts in this map come out. Nobody getting tripped up on those, but, the song only continues to build up from here. The patterns only become more difficult, but everybody else looking comfortable so far. Even, the Hard Rock players recovering nicely on this.
Is another break for a Muro, it appears. I was waiting a second because it seemed like there was a little lag, so it might have been a lag miss, but it was not. Orkai, though, is going to be the one to break next for Turkey, and that is not great, but Smash K trades it. So another FC down for both teams. It is Zeta and Penguo FCs for Argentina still intact. Levi and Spray. No, just Levi now as Spray breaks. And Shinkiro on the recovery combo behind Levi. But that's going to be advantage Argentina by about 450 combo on the FC versus Shinkiro's recovery. Into this tapping section here. What can they do? How long can they continue to hold on into some higher BPM moments? It's Penguo the next fall, Shinkiro as well. Zeta next to go. Levi, the only one left standing in the lobby, has the FC still intact, just shy of 99 accuracy. And what kind of lead can he build up for his team, as he is really the only one in the lobby with a meaningful combo on the board?
Dude, this section is so difficult, regardless of what mod you play it on. The high slider velocity, Levi gets through it just fine as we get into this 1/3 section here. The longer Levi holds, the better it is for Team Turkey as we're now halfway through this map. Levi just needs to hold on for a little bit past this halfway point. You don't really want to be dropping your combo halfway at all, but he misses on the 1/3 jumps at the end, and it's a 60,000 score lead for Team Turkey, but, it could still flip on a dime. That being said, all the combos on Team Argentina are gone. Levi had recovery from Spray, finally drops on the kick slider, and it's pretty much a full combo reset across the board, Aaron.
That section just cost the lives of literally everyone in the lobby. The biggest combo coming out of that challenging portion of the map is, in fact, Shinkiro on the Hard Rock at just shy of 300 now. But that was a massive amount of combo given up for both sides. And we're practically just starting things over as Levi and Shinkiro break on the slow section. Oh, you can't be having that if you're Turkey trying to hold on to a 100k lead. Just giving up free combo in one of the easiest portions of the map. That is not what you want to do at all. Give the opportunity for your opponents to bring it back in one of the easiest parts of the entire map. And now Argentina with a little bit of combo lead. You can see that score slowly starting to work its way from the right side of the screen to the left, 90k and below. But there is still plenty of time left. This is 7 minutes long. We've still got a third of the map to go, so a couple minutes worth of map. What can Argentina do? How much of this gap can they bring back before the map really starts up again? It's down to 80k and shrinking some more. There's a break from Zeta. And man, oh man, it's going to build into a fever pitch here in the last quarter of the map. As Muro the next to go. Argentina giving up their opportunities.
The 1/3 jump sections have been claiming the lives of claiming the combos of so many of these players. But Team Turkey looking like they finally grabbed their footing on the 1/3 jump. Spray is the only one to drop in this section. And with Penguo, the only large combo on the side of Argentina versus 3 on the side of Team Turkey. you have to think this might just be over unless there is a massive collapse, a massive implosion even on the side of Team Turkey. Smash K and Spray are going to trade, but if you're Team Argentina, if you're an Argentina fan, Spray is not the player you need to break on this final quarter.
We're going to come in toward the end, coming down to the final moments of the map here soon. Turkey holding a sizable combo lead. Amuro breaking on the slow slider. Smash K with no combo coming in. Orkai is going to be another break there for that side of Turkey. Levi and Shinkiro, though, both holding nearly 700 combo. It is Pengo on 900, Zeta on 400. Even if Turkey breaks right now, the time is going to be working against Argentina. Let's see what Levi and Shinkiro can do. If they both hold, this is done for. If they break, Argentina might have a last gasp effort. It's only 100k, but Penguo falls. And with it, that might be the hopes of Argentina dashed in this match. As we're coming down to the waning seconds, the moments tick by, the break in the map. You can see the scores if you're the player. It's 113k to Turkey. It is Levi and Shinkiro with some combo. And gosh, I gotta think that the map is about over by now. The match is gonna be done for. It's gonna be Turkey claiming victory in the waning seconds here of this tiebreaker, coming back from 4-1 down. It's going to be 4 straight maps going their way, and it's going to be the match going their way with it.
And there it is. Turkey, they're not going to be upset today. Argentina, well fought for them, but unfortunately just not able to close it out in the end. And Turkey, they will survive. They will move on to the losers bracket round 2 next weekend. Massive shout outs to Shinkiro as well, actually pulling up a sizable 900 combo on this with Hard Rock. Levi, the MVP though, holding on to, a 1320 max combo. Found that break halfway through the map, but clawing it back, getting a very nice recovery for an over 500,000 individual score at the end of this map. Well done to Team Turkey. Thank you to Team Argentina for playing in 4-digit World Cup this year. We hope to see you again next year.
Yes, indeed. Commiserations to the Argentinians. Always tough to lose a match in that fashion, but shoutouts to Turkey. Tons of respect for not falling. 4-1 deficit is nothing easy to come back from, but they made it happen. And that is going to do it for today here at 4WC. This is our final match of the Saturday block. And what a block it's been. We've had a couple different... This is our 3rd tiebreaker match of the day. A very hard-fought stage so far, and hopefully more of the same to come tomorrow with some very good matches lined up on the other side of tonight's break. So make sure that you are following the stream to know when we go live with the matches tomorrow. I believe starting 13 UTC tomorrow morning to begin that block. And of course, if you like what you see, if you enjoy these amazing matches, feel free to head over to the Open Collective and donate to 4WC to make sure that we can keep the lights on, keep things running as well as they have been so far, and, go contribute there. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to everybody involved in this match. Thank you, Suicune, in the commentary booth as well. Congratulations, Turkey, on advancing to the next stage. Commiserations to Argentina on being eliminated from 4WC 2025. But we will be on something like a 16-hour, 17-hour break until tomorrow morning. I've been T1G, he's been Suicune. And we'll see you guys on the other side tomorrow as 4WC 2025 Round of 16 weekend rolls onward.
See you all later.